Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Midpoint podcast. I'm joined with Pastor Julie. Joined by to talk about Sabbath today. Yeah. Something that both of us are working towards making better in our lives, and I would say are adequate for sure. Definitely not like elite Sabbath practicers. No. Working on it someday. Yeah. It'd be nice to have that. Yeah. But we also know some people who maybe on their report card, I would say, room for improvement or needs some help or something like that.
Yeah. Nice way to say
that. So, Sabbath. Tell me about it. We'll talk a little bit about some traditions, why it's important, and a little bit about how we practice it and ways we've been influenced to practice it. So, yeah. What do you think about Sabbath, Julie?
Well, Sabbath is basically just a day to rest. In the simplest terms, that's what it is. Origins from the Old Testament, we see a bit of a rhythm of rest in the creation story. Yes. So God himself rests, and then he kind of passes that down to Adam and Eve. And then we see it in the laws for the Jewish people as well as it starts to develop. It can look a lot of different ways, especially when, we're starting from a Jewish tradition, bringing it into like 2025 Christian lifestyle. So it has looked and continues to look many different ways. But that's basically what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I know we both don't practice it as Friday at sundown until Saturday at sundown or a specific time. But why do you think it's important then?
So many reasons. The chief among them being God suggested it, so hey, maybe it's a good idea. But like really, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a psychologist, but there is so many benefits to resting. Yeah. And again, if it's part of our natural rhythm to need rest, which I think we see in our own lives and the people around us, then there's obviously a lot of wisdom in doing that. Yeah. I don't know if you want to get into the whole law, not law.
Yeah, we can dig into that. Yeah. I think like just a little, we're going to talk about our practices a little later, but just for myself when you talked about like kind of need it, let me tell you, I notice if I work, and my work is here at the church, but whatever your job might be, I find any job I've had, if I work like, especially maybe like 1 week I had to work every day. But then if I work 2 or 3 weeks in a row every day, because stuff came up and we just had things going on, and like at any job that can happen, I really start to notice the drain, not just on my like mental, but like just in general, a drain that when I didn't get this full day of like kind of being removed from all of the busyness and normal everyday stuff, that it starts to drain on me and I start to be less patient and less kind maybe. And like, let me tell you, I love being kind, but there are times I'm not kind. And the less rest I have, the more likely I think kind of all those fruits of the Spirit might start to I was going to say percolate, but depercolate, not a word, into a state of like, it's a lot more work for me to get up to like really be in line with that. Now, I do think God can give us grace and like work with us. But when I rest very consistently, there is a drastic difference for me. Do you find that too?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a very introverted person, and maybe I lean on that term a little bit too much because, we can, change our behaviors and all of those things. But I, as someone who is typically introverted, I am such a less good friend, person, pastor, whatever, when I am not getting that time to rest. And a point that you kind of touched on is that Sabbath is not another thing to do in a lot of ways. More of the idea is to do less. Yeah. And so that I find a lot of comfort in that of Sabbath doesn't have to be crazy complicated or like, oh, this is another spiritual practice on my list that I have to get right and whatever. It's actually about doing less. And not doing the things that you have to do every other day.
Yeah. Jesus says that Sabbath was made for, it says man, but I'm going to say people.
Yeah.
I think we can infer that pretty safely. It says Sabbath was made for people, not people made for the Sabbath. I said it right? Right? Yep. Yeah. And it was because they got too like religious about their practice of like, oh, this is mandatory, this is mandatory, this is mandatory. There's going to be times where you have to maybe take mini Sabbaths because a week flared up. But also, if the Sabbath was made for us, and he doesn't say, and we're going to punt it because you're a Christian now and you're going to work 24/7, 365 for the gospel and burn out in exactly 1.4 years.
Yikes.
Exactly.
A tale as old as time, unfortunately.
So, but it was made for us in the sense of like, this is part of our rhythm. And like, that's kind of the law part you were bringing up earlier.
Yeah. I want to read actually now the Matthew 11. I'm going to read out of the Message version because I love the way that it words this.
It's wonderful.
It's so beautiful. Matthew 11:28-30. It says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out by religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." And I think that really shows Jesus's heart behind Sabbath, the idea of Sabbath, of, like you're saying, it's not another rule that's forced upon us. It's like an opportunity and a gift in a lot of ways. And I like how the Message words it because it's saying, are you burned out on religion? I'll show you how to take a real rest. And then the unforced rhythms of grace of like, it doesn't have to be like a hyper structured, like I need to do these 8 things on my Sabbath day or else it's not like holy or something like that. It's like, no, I get to take these like 24 hours to chill.
Chill. And it's not just a day off. And I know it's Eugene Peterson wrote the Message. His memoir, highly recommend it. It's called The Pastor. He actually talks about how him and his wife practice Sabbath together. He has a whole chapter on it.
That's cool.
And he talks about a day off being just like a regular day off and just kind of just like milling around the house or maybe wasting your time is not a productive Sabbath, potentially. And like they intentionally would go for a hike as much as they possibly could on their Sabbath together. And sometimes they'd chat and sometimes they'd be quiet and they would spend time with the Lord and spend time with one another, which I think is like wonderful. And so it doesn't have to be totally removed on your own. But it has to be something that's like restorative and connecting with God. Those are kind of, I wouldn't say rules, but those are some good guidelines to follow. Because when we get in that place of actually feeling restored, we're going to be able to ball out a lot harder the other days of the week.
Which is part of the purpose.
Yes.
I mean, and I like the idea of fasting and feasting or like working and resting because one feeds the other. And if you don't have one, then the other suffers. And so like balling out on your Sabbath makes you like a better person for the other 6 days of the week. And then working really hard and like doing what you love and being disciplined during your 6 days then makes your Sabbath that much better. And so it's really like a healthy, like life-giving cycle. Not just like one random day I'm going to scroll on TikTok for 8 hours, you know? And Jesus even talks about he didn't come to abolish and punt. He doesn't use the word punt, but maybe some version does. Nice. But he didn't come to punt the law and the prophets. He came to fulfill it. But then he talked about how like Sabbath was made for us to be in restoration. Now, in this scenario, the disciples weren't working. They were picking up some food and grain and eating, I don't know, seed pods. I don't know exactly how it went down. And they got
like slammed for that, but he also gets slammed for healing someone on the Sabbath. So it's not that you can't care for people. It's not that you say, I'm never gonna do anything. It's about having this like restoration time to be able to more fully like serve the Lord in a multitude of ways through connecting with the Lord on this day.
Yeah.
More 100%. Intentionally, I think.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So both of us have run the Practicing the Way Sabbath practice. So you've run it more recently. So tell if you maybe want to familiarize people with Practicing the Way, but also let them know specifically about that practice.
Yeah. So Practicing the Way is a resource that I end up using a lot with my young adults. It's just a really practical way to figure out what the spiritual practices that we have as Christians are and how to implement them well and what the scriptures say about it. And so the one on Sabbath I ran last year, and it goes through 4 steps. So stop, rest, delight, and worship. And how, so basically to break that down, stop is stopping what you normally do on any other day of the week. So they gave the example of if you're a landscaper, then maybe gardening on your Sabbath isn't the best idea. Or like, I don't know, if you're an accountant, maybe like doing your budget on your Sabbath day won't be the most fulfilling thing for you.
Yeah,
but
don't ask me to pray at your dinner if it's my Sabbath. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we have some weird like flexibility there. But, so stopping, and that's what I meant by like, it's about doing less instead of doing more in a lot of ways. And then rest. So doing something that gives you energy, maybe not like vegging out on TV all day long.
Yeah, that's so probably
the hiking is like a great example. Delight.
Something creative or enjoying time writing or reading a book. And
something that fills your soul.
Yeah. And for some people that is gardening because they have office work.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 3 is delight. So bringing joy. So, not something you're dreading, actually something that's really exciting and joyful for you.
Yeah.
I heard about somebody who loved chocolate. And so what they would do is they wouldn't have chocolate the whole week, but then on their Sabbath, they could go crazy, which I love. It's just like simple and sweet and cute.
I would say Kiana and I normally try to go a little like nicer on dinner on our Sabbath.
I like that.
So like not always fancy, but like a little more intentional or higher quality or maybe like specifically like something that we don't have all the time.
That's fun.
Yeah. Or a dessert or something.
Yeah. Good stuff. And then 4th, worship. So is it making me think more about God and his goodness and, bringing up gratitude in my heart?
Yeah.
And so for me, like, again, nature comes to mind because anytime I see a bird or like a cool bug or like a flower, I'm like, that's so cool. And I'm just like obsessed with it. I'm like, Jesus, you like made all these random tiny little organisms for us to discover and enjoy. So that's like my hippie side coming out a little bit.
Yeah.
But so stop, rest, delight, worship. That's the structure that Practicing the Way gives. Which I think is a really helpful, and using those 4 as like a litmus test as well of like, is this thing I want to do stopping what I normally do? Is it resting? Is it delightful? Is it worshipful? It's a helpful way to kind of navigate what elements of your Sabbath could be.
Yeah. And like some of it is like, you do it like worshipful doesn't have to just be worship music. Yeah. It could be, like you said, like a walk outside. It could be doing an activity you really like maybe you're intentional about like a whole host of, some people go for a run on their Sabbath because and maybe they don't wear their headphones because they interrupt the rhythm of their normal running.
Right.
To be like, I'm going to like pray and be more intentional. Like, so it can, the worship part can be expanded a little more than just like, pray beside your bed or listen to worship music.
Absolutely. And like, for some people that might be more nature related. It could be art related. If you are a musician, I think, and you don't have, the opportunity throughout the week to play music a ton, on your Sabbath, you could take a couple hours to just noodle around on your guitar or sing or whatever. And that can be like a very worshipful thing, but it can look a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
And for like a lot of people, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
Like I practice on Saturday because Sunday morning is work for us.
Yeah.
But and if you work on Sunday, I would recommend not Sunday.
Yeah.
But Sunday's a great way because you're already like coming, worshiping with the people of the Lord, hearing the word read. So you're already like off to the races a little bit. Now, it might depend on your situation, how flexible you are with being able to go do things. If you have kids or you have responsibilities, like those can fit within it still.
Yeah.
And it's just like interrupting some of the normal things in life. Like what I think one practicing the way recommends that I've personally done that I've been not so good about lately is any shopping, whether that's online shopping or marketplace or for a while I was very intentional about like, okay, I'm not doing any of that on Sabbath. And let me tell you, it is a delight to just remove that. It's a little hard when you're used to like, be like, oh, and I'm not much of a shopper. I just like perusing things. But just removing that portion to be like, oh, I'm giving this day to God, not my materialism.
No, for real. I also need to get back on that so we can be accountable to each other.
Yeah, you guys can keep us accountable. Ask us about it.
Oh, yeah. But it's the same thing. Like, again, less is more. And it's so nice on a Sabbath day to simplify your world and like even take a step back from like, okay, I'm gonna, we live in a culture that's very consumeristic.
Yeah. Being
Being able to intentionally step away from that just for 24 hours is huge. And like, if you haven't tried it before, even if you can't do a full Sabbath, just try having like a complete no buy day or like once a week or whatever. And you don't realize how much money is involved in our everyday lives until you like take a day away from it. So
no, for sure. And another way is like trying to like we'll stack our chores the day before in the house. Like you're gonna have to do a little tidying up. Like I don't just make the kitchen just a disaster. But but on the day before, we're a little more intentional about making sure we're tidy. We do like the vacuuming and like kind of the everyday things. We have 3 dogs, so you got to vacuum a lot. They all shed. But really, and like I would sacrifice a little bit of sleep on the day before Sabbath to make sure the kitchen's a little cleaner. At least that's the way I like to practice. I'm not always perfect. We're working on this together. What's something else you like practicing on Sabbath?
Well, I just, as an encouragement first, when I was running this practice with my young adults, one of the biggest hurdles, at least for people in my age and like maybe a little bit younger still in university, was I don't actually have a 24-hour window that I can do Sabbath on. Like if someone's in school and has a job, then like there is no single day that like isn't like filled with something.
Right.
And so as an encouragement, I know we're talking about ours, but we have
this is
not a 9 to 5, but like office job where we have days off. Even just doing like a 4-hour window. Like if you have a morning shift and then like the afternoon is free, then like making that your window to Sabbath is like amazing. And that's what we were talking about with law and, being the law is fulfilled and whatever. Jesus gets it. He sees your life too, and so it's okay. But I encourage you to like carve out some time. But for my Sabbath, I do mine on Mondays typically. Again, need to be better at the buying things thing. But part of Sabbath for a lot of people, and again suggested by Practicing the Way, is doing like a meal with your family or your friends or like something celebratory. So it's not like you don't have to become a monk on your Sabbath day. Some people love like a party and that's what they do on their Sabbath, or they love having a bunch of people over to eat, and so they'll do that. So something I do is Monday night is girls' night, and so we'll all like we make popcorn, we put on a movie. We've been going through a lot of Disney movies recently, which is fun. We get like little candies and everything, and we usually like do a full debrief of the week at some point.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like
cool.
all snuggled up on the couch together and watch Disney movies and stuff. And so for me, that's like a delight thing for sure. Because you have an element of community where we tell each other what we're dealing with and stuff.
Yeah.
But then, we just like have a laugh and like dance around sometimes and eat a bunch of candy and have fun. And so that's been like a really good one.
Nice. Yeah. We do something like it, and practicing the way recommends this. And I think it's a great way to do it is like having something that's kind of a rhythmic tradition. On your, so like for you, it's the girls' night. Kiana and I always, like without fail, even if we have stuff on, we read Psalm 23 together on Saturday morning. And once both of us are awake. So good. It's read Psalm 23 for a long while. And maybe we've been doing it again. We light a candle and then read Psalm 23. So like just something that's like a little different that like kind of jumpstarts your brain, but also your connection with God to be like, oh, we're intentionally putting this day aside, or this time in the evening aside, to be delighting and resting and enjoying.
Question. Is the candle like a Jewish tradition thing for Sabbath? Because I've heard it come up a few times with Sabbath stuff of like lighting the candles. But I don't actually
know. But I'm not sure.
Okay, you can do some research at home.
Let us know. Or we'll do research and maybe next time we can come back in with that. But candles is nice. Some people take a nap on their Sabbath.
Love that.
Reading scripture is a good thing. Reading a book. Whether that's like a spiritual development book or maybe it's just an enjoyment book, a novel, because you're like, it's just such a nice way for me to like connect. And now that we're coming up on warmer weather, we can do some of these things outside, which is nice.
Super nice.
Like worshiping at church or listening to worship music or listening to music helps you connect with God. And I think like an important part is that it all feels restful and you feel like you made connection with God or worked on connecting with God. Those are kind of and worked. I shouldn't say work. We're talking about resting. But like it felt connected to God.
Love it.
Any other thoughts or things that you'd like to encourage people or to practice?
If you're getting into it and the thought of like a whole day is really intimidating, especially because it's a great idea to not only not buy things, but also try to stay away from social media and your phone. And some people will legit take their phone, put it in a box somewhere, like stick it in a closet.
That should be me.
It should be me as well. It's not at the moment.
New accountability.
Which is a whole
level 2 accountability. First no buy, second
it's the little voice that's like something bad will happen if you don't have your phone on you, which I know is unhealthy, so I'm working on it, I swear. But take it as an opportunity at least to enjoy something deeply, because because we're all so busy, we enjoy things like surface level. But like, so me, an artist, I'll like doodle something in my sketchbook every once in a while if I have like an extra hour or whatever. But to take like 3 hours to start this painting that I've been wanting to do that like is going to take me forever to finish, that is so much more fulfilling and a deeper sense of enjoyment. And having a Sabbath is a great, almost like giving yourself an excuse or giving yourself permission to do that. So whatever that thing that you love to do is, like there's a hike you've been really wanting to do, but you just haven't had time. Take it and enjoy it deeply and walk a bit slower and take some pictures or whatever, For sure.
There's a movie you've been really wanting to watch that you've set aside. There's like fill in the blanks on all this stuff.
An album you want to listen to all the way through.
Sit down and listen to an album. Great. Yeah. There's so many good things that you can do that if you don't have a full day, that you can enjoy with. And I think there's lots of ways that we can throw a wrench in our norm, whether like you said, the phone or doing something a little different or removing something that we normally would do that even just helps settle our heart, mind, soul, and bodies to be able to be a little more oriented towards looking at God. So that's I think that's good. I would encourage everyone, just try something. Throw one thing, try one restful thing and move one thing that you would normally do aside that you actually might be an anxiety creator, or just sometimes something that occupies time.
Yeah.
And just try those two things on one of these days. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you want to go the whole way in and try like a full-blown mega different type of day, also good. But just start with like little steps and trying something like you mentioned, Julie.
Yeah.
And those are just nice ways to make one day in your week or a part of a day a little bit different, that I think is like puts aside some of the I must be efficient and do things like fill in all of my time because that's honoring to God, and like we can actually do more sometimes when we set aside that time to do less.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that
100%. Sometimes God just wants to spend time with you. He doesn't need you to do something every hour of every day.
Yeah, Pastor Sandra would be would want us to mention Mary and Martha.
Yeah.
So we need to, like, sometimes we got to get stuff done. So I think that part about Martha is like sometimes she gets a little thrown under the bus for like she's a get stuff done person, and we need that. Yeah. But we also need to remember to just sit at the feet of Jesus, listen, and know that the dishes are going to get done later. Yep. That we can make do our meal prep the next day or whatever. Fill in the blanks on all this stuff.
Yeah.
We love you guys, and let us know what you might be trying. Try something new. And if you want some suggestions, please send us an email, office@faithhalifax. Maybe in the comments we can post a few things about practicing the way to hopefully get you in the mindset of something to try. And any other thoughts, Julie?
Practicing the way is free. Not that this is like a practicing the way commercial, but we'll pop the link in the description for you. You can check out all of the resources we were chatting about. So. Yeah.
No, they're really good and grounded in scripture. So
love that.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Have a good rest.